Welcome to High Notes, conversations on the art and business of voice. High Notes. Make sure you never miss a video on our channel by pressing that subscribe button, and if you like this episode, please do give it a like and leave us a comment below. Now, let's meet this month's guest. In this episode, we're joined by legendary voice actor Bob Bergen, the voice behind some of animation's most beloved characters, including Porky Pig, Tweety, Marvin the Martian, and No Face from one of my favourite films, Spirited Away. Bob shares his journey from mimicking cartoons as a child to becoming a full-time voice actor. He offers invaluable advice for aspiring performers and gives us a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to bring animated icons to life. Whether you're a fan of classic cartoons, anime, or the art of voice acting, you really won't want to miss this conversation with one of the most respected voices in the business. Bob, welcome to High Notes.
Well, thank you very much. Happy to be here from across a large pond.
I am so thrilled we get to pick your brains today. You've been laser focused on voicing Porky Pig since you were 5 years old. Tell us a little bit more about finding your voice when you were young. I want to know how it all started.
It started as a fan of cartoons. Like most people, I would watch cartoons and I would mimic the cartoons back to the television, and my mother would watch this and she'd stand behind me, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing was what I was doing. I was just having fun communicating with my cartoon characters, and that's pretty much how it started. I didn't know there was a career. I didn't know there was a thing called voiceover. I just knew that I could mimic cartoon characters. So that's pretty much how it started.
So how did it go from just mimicking to it being a job?
Well, it took many years. I mean, my dad took a job in Los Angeles when I was 14, and I knew that cartoons were produced here. This was a long time ago when there was a thing called the phone book, and I just made phone calls. And I called Disney, I called Warner Brothers, I called Mel Blanc. I just made phone calls to anybody I could find in the phone book. And how do I do this? There was a magazine called Dramalog back then. It was a trade magazine. Now it's called Backstage because there were two. The Backstage bought it. And I found a voiceover class and I started studying voiceover. My parents had a rule. I had to keep a C average, and they would pay for my voiceover classes, which they did until I was 14 and a half, got my first day job or after school job. And from that point on, through the rest of my life and career, I paid for my own classes because I wanted to prove to my parents that I was serious about this and I wasn't going to rely on them to do this. And I got my first agent a week out of high school, and my first job a week out of high school. And then I'd spent 5 years as a tour guide at Universal Studios to eat and pay the bills as I was auditioning, hit or miss. Sometimes I booked, a lot of times I didn't. And eventually I was able to quit that at 23 and work as a full-time voice actor.
23. So what I'm gleaning from the early stages of this conversation is you sound very hyper-focused. How important do you think having a clear goal is for aspiring voice actors? And what advice do you have for those who are still trying to find their niche?
It's a great question. I think that social media has been a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that everybody's available to everybody. The curse is the trend of a lot of coaches saying, make money at voiceover. It's like a get rich quick thing. When I studied voiceover, the idea of getting paid for it was never a part of a class. A class was for craft. What you did with that craft was completely up to you. If a student were to say to a teacher, how much can you make in voiceover? The teacher would drop the student because they're making it about a dollar amount, not about the craft. What's happening today is people don't want to be focused. They want to make money. And that's the reason why they're not. Because all they're thinking is about the now. Ooh, if I just get paid for this. In fact, I'm seeing people post they're happy to do it for free, just to do it for experience. And what they don't realize is that experience will not impress anybody who can build their career. No agent cares that you did it for free. No casting director cares that you did it for free. So people need to be, and you ask great questions, my dear. I mean, I'm so delighted with your just early questions, because this is the problem with today's voiceover community. They're not thinking focused. And what do I mean by focused? Specifically, where do you want to work? If you know specifically where you want to work, then you can specifically create a roadmap to get there. And people are just hoping to work without knowing where they fit in and what they have to provide.
Yeah. I see you being incredibly vocal on lots of different platforms and very grateful for it because you have such breadth of experience. But I think there's this idea of getting rich quick or, booking something quickly because you're noticed on social media. What would your words of advice be for people who take that path but aren't succeeding right now?
Stop being lazy. Stop looking for easy. The easy road has no destination. There are no guarantees in this business. I mean, people say to me all the time, hey, I'm interested in studying with you. Here's some stuff I've reported. Do I have what it takes? I don't know. You may sound great. Do you have a work ethic? I've had students who were piss poor, literally like one paycheck out of living out of their car. But they had such talent and such drive and never played the victim. And I've had students who were trust fund babies who had more money than God, who were brilliant, who never succeeded because they had no work ethic. Look, if this is all about being a brilliant actor and having a tremendous work ethic, I believe in meritocracy. I don't believe in victimhood, and I don't believe that anything should be handed to anybody. I believe in earning. I'm telling you right now, casting directors hold auditions every day. Agents listen to demos every day because they're all looking for the next great thing. Great isn't just about talent, it's the whole package. So I think if you really want to succeed in this business, and success doesn't mean making a dime, it means competing. If you really want to compete in this business, strive to be the best. Strive to be the greatest actor you can, but don't strive to be the richest actor. Because, some of my most creatively fulfilling moments in my life are in my booth right over there, just auditioning without even thinking about getting the job, because I never think about booking, but just being creative. That's the reason I got into this business to begin with.
I think you definitely put your money where your mouth is. You've spent years and years studying with legendary voice actors like Dawes Butler. You've clearly worked tirelessly on your craft before landing these major roles. What's one lesson from those early years that you still apply to your work today? And you've been in this business a long time.
Oh my goodness. I wish I could say there's just one, but I'll give you a big one. And it was taught to me by Don LaFontaine when I was about 16, because I was in an all-day voiceover workout group all day Saturday with Don and Danny Dark and Jack Angel and some of the top voiceover actors on the planet. Don said to me, only rub elbows and only seek advice from people on a bigger boat than you, people who have the career that you want. Don't waste your time asking for advice with people on the same or smaller boat as you. Again, that's the problem with social media, because people keep asking advice from people who are on the same or smaller boat rather than going to the top of the VO food chain. I didn't have the internet when I was starting out. Had I would have reached out to the top agents at Atlas Talent and SBD and CESD and the top earners in voiceover and the top casting directors, rather than the people who are in the mediocrity stage of their career. I mean, in lieu of the internet, now I was in Los Angeles, so I had a geographical luxury, but I would go to studios in the voiceover world, from actors to advertisers to producers, just to talk to. And they were like, always, because I was a cute little charming 16-year-old. And they were like, sure. So, and I did. I would talk to the heads of Leo Burnett Advertising, and I would talk to the top voice actors and just, how did you do it? What did you do? And emulate them. Emulate the people at the top, guys. That's what you do. Emulate the people at the top.
Great advice. Now, you're known for voicing iconic characters like No Face in Spirited Away, one of our absolute favorite films that was
He's right
ever
there.
made.
Yeah.
There we go. You voiced Porky Pig, Tweety, and Marvin the Martian. When approaching an established character, how do you balance staying true to the original voice while bringing your own interpretation to it?
Great question. Anybody can mimic, that's all, folks. I mean, that's easy, just to mimic the catchphrases. I'll give you an example that will answer your question. When I auditioned for the first Space Jam movie, I got down to the final callback, and there were like 5 of us on the final callback. And we were all there reading together in the lobby. As they were passing out the scripts, I was watching the other actors' faces, looking at the scripts with fear in their eyes. And I'm like, wow, what are they reading? And I looked at my script, and it was Hamlet, To Be or Not to Be. Because they figured anybody can say the catchphrases. But if you can do Shakespeare as a Looney Tune and stay in character, you know that character. I looked at that and I went, oh, I got this. Because I can do Porky Pig reading the front page of the newspaper, give a good performance as the character, but also tell the story. And that's the secret. If you really want to play a classic character, you've got to read beyond the tried and true, mimicking the episodes and the shorts that you've seen. So, I mean, I've been doing Porky, oh my goodness, 35 years. So I know that character pretty well. Early on, when I first started booking, and by the way, none of us who do classic voices have a contract to do these classic voices. It's a per job thing. They used to play me, a reference of Mel Blanc at my sessions before I would hit the microphone. But they were Mel Blanc doing Porky Pig from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. And I'm like, well, which one do you guys want? And they're like, well, they're all Porky Pig. I'm like, well, they're not all the same sound because he evolved. It's sort of like if you watch The Simpsons, which has been on the air forever, season 1, very different than today's first run episodes. So I'm like, what do you want? And they didn't know the answer to that because they'd never been in a position to have to think about it. So I thought about it. And basically what I do is, depending on what we're doing, I get a feel from the producer, the director, what do you want from this character? If they don't know, then my sweet spot for Porky Pig is about 1953 to 1956. That's where I thought Mel Blanc nailed the character. And then sometimes it's a show like the Looney Tunes show or New Looney Tunes, where the directors and the producers have a very specific flavor they want. I just take their lead. You've got to be malleable. You've got to be able to give them what they want. And back to your original question, I talk a lot, forgive me. Try to stay true to the character, but also it's a marriage between true to the character and what they're looking for in this particular project.
It's so fascinating to hear all of this experience. We've only been talking, 12 minutes, and I've still got so much to ask you. Here at Brava, many students are working on developing their own unique character playbooks. What's your process for creating brand new character voices? And where do you draw inspiration from today?
Wonderful question again. First of all, I don't ever think about the voice. It's not about the voice. All characters have a voice, but not all voices have character. It's all about character. So if you get an audition with a picture, a brief description, and the dialogue, you start to build the character. And 80% of animation voiceover is in the imagination. You have to make it up. There's a lot of backstory that you make up. You do the same thing if you're auditioning for a movie or a TV show or a play. You create character. You don't do a voice. Well, if you're doing a play, even if the character, it says, has a Southern accent, you're not doing a voice. Your character happens to be from the South. So, I look at, you might have just individual little scenes, paragraphs for the audition, 5. And there's no other information. There's no full script. You don't even have a scene partner. You have to make that up. Who am I talking to? What is our relationship? Where are we? It might say an adjective at the top of the scene, angry. Why am I angry? Am I angry about what I just came from? And am I bringing that anger into the scene? Am I angry about the scene? How angry am I? And who's my scene partner? And the microphone is the ear of your scene partner, where you are on mic, within a scene, from scene to scene, corresponds with where you imagine the characters are in the scene. You see it in your head, you vocally perform it. If you're just reading in a voice, you're just reading in a voice. That audition has to sound like that character has been around forever. You're auditioning by yourself. There's nobody there to tell you that's right, that's wrong. The good news is nobody's there to tell you what you can't do. The bad news is nobody's there to tell you what they want. Just make a choice. The only bad choice an actor can make is not making a choice. So let's say you make a bold choice that isn't, unless you're psychic, you don't know what they want. Just commit to your choices. You want to be in the room. You want to get a callback. In the callback, they'll redirect you. Your bold choice might not be theirs, but they'll redirect you to what they want based on your bold choice. Your bold choice might talk them into changing the character and the script entirely. That's why when actors hear a commercial or see a cartoon that they audition for, and they're like, that's not what they were asking for. Somebody made a choice. Somebody swayed them. Somebody entertained them in their audition. You've got to take those risks. If you're trying to get the job, you won't. If you're trying to do what you think they want, you won't. Just do what you want. Just do what you want at the audition. Sometimes I will completely ignore the specs. Or take two will be completely ignoring the specs. My job is just to have fun, and I don't care if I get it. I just want to entertain myself.
Yeah, so much to pick up on here. One thing we talk about here at Bravo an awful lot is you have to be comfortable with the cold read. And improvisation and spontaneity are huge parts of character voice work. How do you prepare yourself to be able to adapt quickly in a session, whether it's changing delivery, adding personality, or responding to unexpected direction? Because when we train students that come from stage theatre, at the beginning, they really struggle with the idea of the cold read, of not having all the information. What's your advice for that?
Well, first of all, more often than not, voiceover isn't a cold read; it's a frozen read. So, this is how I think you're ready for a demo. When what you just described is a breeze, you can do it in your sleep. You're ready for a demo. You study. I studied improv for 3 years. I studied acting at a conservatory for 2 years. I studied voiceover for 4 years. And trust me when I tell you, after all that, and as I started pursuing, I wasn't as good as I am today. And I'm not, tooting my own horn. I'm pretty good. But I also know what I'm not good at. I'm not good at long form voiceover like audiobooks. I have no interest in them, nor do I have interest in training how to do them well. There are people that excel at this and love it. I don't. And the people that love that may not love characters. We all find what you love and do it. But how do you do it? Experience. If you get in front of the mic and you realize I've had so many really brilliantly trained actors study with me, Broadway actors, film actors, who just could not do voiceover because they needed the live theater audience. They needed the props. They needed the scene partner. They weren't able to take their imagination to the next level and do it amongst themselves. That just takes more training. And sometimes, if you're a really smart actor, even if you've been a working film, TV actor, get thee to another improv class. Just study voiceover 101. And eventually you're going to marry what you've learned and excelled at with the technique of voiceover and go, oh, I get it. But there's that light bulb I get it moment that you will have if you stay with it long enough. I did. I was in voiceover class for 2 years hearing, make it conversational. I was 14, 15. And I'm like, you're having me read a pimple medication ad talking about those stubborn acne pimples. I swear to you, 14-year-olds don't talk about those stubborn acne pimples. And my teachers would say, but this 14-year-old does in this commercial. So you got to sound like you do. That's hard. That's not easy to do, to say words you wouldn't say in real life. That's what good acting is.
Let's focus in on some of your really well-known characters. Porky Pig's stutter is such a defining part of his voice. Technically speaking, tell me some of the challenges of maintaining consistency in a character's vocal quirks from one year to the next, and how do you specifically keep them feeling fresh?
Oh, for Porky, I have no problem because I've been doing the voice since I was 5 years old before my voice changed. And I sounded nothing like him. I don't have a difficulty, but I'm an actor who never argues. I'm happy to take lousy direction. My job is to give them what they want. However, if I think I can do it better, I will say in a very professional, non-threatening way, can I try one take just for me? And they never say no. And so that's when I'll take that line as written and just make it for me more, what's the word? Authentic to Porky's personality. He would say it this way. Whether they keep that take or not is their discretion, but at least I gave them creatively my input. So that's what I think I do to keep it authentic and fresh. But I will tell you, Mel Blanc passed away in 1989. So when he was doing Porky Pig, Porky Pig, and I'll tell you some situations they've put Porky in the last 35 years. Mel Blanc never had Porky Pig on a cell phone. Mel Blanc never had Porky Pig on a computer, on a dating app, driving an Uber, or sing contemporary music. So that's kind of a challenge to keep the integrity of the character, but, participate in today's pop culture world, but you just make it work. That's what acting is all about, no matter who you're playing.
I have to ask you, are you able to share with us what it was like working on Spirited Away?
Yeah, it's so funny. It was produced by the lovely people at Pixar, and I had done a lot of Pixar films. So I didn't audition for Spirited Away. I just showed up at Disney to record the film. Didn't know what it was. I was hired to play a frog. There's a frog at the very beginning of the film, and I did the voice of the frog. And after I did the voice of the frog, the creators were talking amongst themselves, and they said, No Face eats the frog, so he should voice No Face too. And I said, okay, what's a no face? And No Face comes up, and he just kind of mostly goes ah ah ah, and then he eats the frog, takes on the persona of the frog, and has a more of a kind of like guttural voice. But I still had to approach the with some kind of an acting choice. And when you dub anime, you only work on the scenes you're in. I didn't know the story. I didn't know anything beyond the scenes I was doing. So I said, "What is the And the producers were like, "We don't know." I mean, so actors have to have inspiration, motivation. So I looked at this character. I related to Boris Karloff in Frankenstein, who was this grotesque character, the monster in the movie Frankenstein. The title of the movie Frankenstein was not the monster, it was the doctor, which, and same with the book, which most people don't, they think of Frankenstein as the big green guy. The monster was the doctor that built this poor, innocent soul with the bad brain, who was scary as heck. And so my inspiration of just the was, I want love. I want acceptance. I want people to understand me. And so I tried my best to have that thought behind every So, and then when he started eating things and becoming the frog, well, then I just had fun,
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. So I think it's going to be fascinating watching it with the kids again and listening to every single utterance from No Face, knowing the story behind it, which is fascinating. Now let's move on and talk a little bit about your teaching work. You've taught animation voiceover for decades. What's one technical mistake you see beginner voice actors make over and over and over again, and how can they fix it?
By thinking voice. It's the same thing for everybody. Everyone tells me what a great voice I've got. I do a great Homer Simpson. They look at a piece of copy, and the first thing they think of is voice. And when I try to give them adjustments, a direction, they don't know what I'm talking about. Or they haven't studied acting before they study voiceover. Study acting first, people. Become a great actor, and then marry the technique of voiceover. I would say those are the two biggest mistakes that people make when they study. I only teach privates. I stopped doing group classes with COVID. I'll do, weekend workshops around the country, and I'm doing a voiceover cruise next year, which I've done for many years over and over. But most of my coaching is one-on-one. And I won't be your first teacher. I won't take you. I want people who have studied acting. I would prefer you to have even commercial voiceover training before you study animation. And one of the reasons I am so pricey is because I don't want beginners. I want people, and I've got enough clips on my Instagram and YouTube for people to watch that for free and go, oh, I see where I'm at now, or I need to be before I plunk down some substantial money to take as privates.
We're just going to ask you one question about this, and I have to ask it because it's so prevalent in the conversation at the moment. With AI voices becoming much more advanced, but not quite there yet, I don't think. What do you think human voice actors bring to the table that technology just can't replicate?
I'm not going to be a popular answer, but I'm going to answer based on history and another technology. The same question was asked in 1980 about CGI animation, and all the hand-drawn animators were saying computers will never have the heart of hand-drawn. They'll never have the heart. 1982, Disney released a movie called Tron. Very cold, very stiff, fascinating, but didn't have a lot of heart. Less than 15 years later, we got Toy Story and Jurassic Park. Same technology. AI has heart. I've seen the good stuff. I've heard the good stuff. And what today's voiceover generation doesn't understand is those who participated in all of the pay-to-play over the last 25 years trained AI. You are responsible for the demise of your future. Because when you signed up for all these pay-to-plays, if you'd read the user agreement, which nobody does, it said that they have the right to use or sell your auditions and your jobs for any future technology. They didn't know what future technology was 25 years ago. Here is the silver lining with AI. It's the next generation of union residuals, because all of our union contracts are demanding AI protections and profit sharing. So if an entity wants to take my work from a previously produced union voiceover and through generative AI create new content, they have to get my permission, they have to negotiate with my agent, and I get paid applicable residuals. Well, that is the next generation of profit sharing, like a TV residual, like a run residual. It's the non-union world that has the problem, because that's the Wild West. 80% of voiceover today is non-union. 80% of voiceover, I think, of non-union voiceover is going to be AI generated within 5 years. And we're seeing Audible announce, hey, we're going to be doing AI audiobooks. Why
so
not?
bearing that in mind, what one thing can voice actors focus on today to make themselves stand out and future-proof their careers?
Just be a brilliant actor. If you would like guaranteed protections, you've got to go union. That's it. That is it. And if you're going to say, well, it's really hard, it was hard for me. When I got into the union and started working in 1982, there were only 3 networks doing Saturday morning cartoons. Today, we have 24/7 animation networks. We've got animated features. We've got games. We've got streaming. There's more content today than I was told you'll never break in, because there just isn't enough work. I didn't care about statistics. So the same with AI. Don't care about statistics. Why waste your time worrying about what's out of your hands?
So it comes back to the craft, as always, right?
Always. Always comes back to the craft. And I'm so bored with people saying, it has no heart, it has no soul. Human condition is the only... vaudeville said that too, when silent movies became a thing. Nobody will go and sit and look at a sheet with these lights flashed. They want live theater. There's humanity in live theater. There's no humanity in silent movies. They called them flickers back then. Vaudeville was dead by the time sound movies existed.
I love all of this. It's so interesting just to hear your thoughts on it and to see where you think it's going to be going.
It's going to be going wherever it goes. Movie studios rejected television until they started producing it, because they realized people don't mind watching that little piece of furniture in their living room. They weren't going to movies anymore because they were watching free on their television. I remember years ago, the Television Academy, which I was a board governor of, before I was on the board, didn't embrace cable because they thought, who's going to pay for TV? They didn't embrace cable and the Emmys until they did, because they realized content is content is content. So look, you can adapt and stay relevant, or you can just complain on social media. How's that working for you?
Now, listen, I've got 2 little questions and then I've got a little surprise for you. I mean, I could talk to you for another 2 hours if we had the time, but I want to ask you, you've done so much live announcing, game show hosting, and performed a one-man show. What's the most unexpected or memorable gig voice acting specifically has led you to?
Hosting a game show. I was on a talk show in New York promoting Space Jam, and I got a call from a host agent who said, hey, you are very interesting. Would you like to host? And I said, no, but thank you for asking. And I just, in passing, talked to my voiceover agent about that phone call. And my voiceover agent said, don't be an idiot. If they know your face, I can get you more for your voice. So I took a meeting with this hosting agent, and I said, all right, I'll pursue it. But it was in the 90s when, people were throwing chairs at Geraldo Rivera, and Jerry Springer was popping up.
I remember
and I was like,
that.
I don't want to do that stuff. I don't know what it is I want to do. And so the first audition they sent me on was a kid's version of Jeopardy. And I didn't want the job. So I went to the audition. I think one of the keys to getting booked is don't care, just go there, have fun, and don't really care if you don't get it. And I got a call back and another call back and another call back. And I ended up screen testing for it. And one of the categories, and I didn't know what the categories were going to be on the screen test. And the screen test was doing an episode of Jeopardy on the set of Jeopardy. And one of the categories was famous cartoon characters. And the clue would be like, he lives in Jellystone Park and he's smarter than the average bear. Who's Yogi Bear? Right. He likes spinach and his girlfriend is Olive. So after the audition, one of the producers comes up to me and he goes, have you ever thought about voiceover? And I said, that's my day job, because they didn't know. They just knew me as the guy auditioning as a host. So I booked it. That hosting job initially came from a voiceover job.
I love it. Now, final question. If you could voice any character from animation history that you haven't already, who would it be and why?
Don't have an answer. I've done it. I've done every classic character in history I've wanted to do. I wish I could give you a better answer to that, but
you know what?
I don't
that
think
doesn't surprise me.
Well, I don't think about the past. I mean, if I get an audition for a classic character that I think is in my wheelhouse, sure, I'll read for it. But I think about the present and the future. People, they know me as voicing classic characters, but my day-to-day is creating new. And that's kind of more fun, creating new than, I don't mind. I mean, if somebody has a Porky Pig job for me on Monday, I'm doing Porky Pig. But, if it's a brand new character and a brand new pilot and I'm creating something new, that's fun. That's why I do this.
Bob, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. It's been so fascinating to hear all your stories. Have you enjoyed our chat?
I have, very much. Thank you. What's my surprise?
Well, before we go, I've got someone just at the door here. So if you just want to come in a second.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Headphones. How are you?
So this isn't CGI, right?
I just finished teaching a character class. So we got.
Oh, that is so funny. That is so funny. This is Elaine Clark, for everybody who just said, who I should have, honey, that's my wife, everybody. Where you been? I thought you were in the kitchen. She is the godmother of how to get into this business. And, her books that she wrote years ago are relevant today, and they're all on Amazon. Every single one of them, right?
This was Melissa's idea to come and surprise you.
This was fun. This was so much fun. I believe, Elaine, I think this is the longest distance conversation you and I have ever had.
Yes, I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
we usually just have the LA San Francisco phone call, but now it's across the pond.
That was a lovely surprise. That was fun.
Oh, well, listen, thank you so much. I always find it really fascinating talking to you, the amount of experience you have, and you're always so gracious with your time and experience. So thank you so much. Thank you.
You bet.
You've been listening to High Notes. High Notes, a podcast on the art and business of voice. Thanks for joining us on this episode of High Notes. Check out the episode description below for more information. And to find out more about our work at Brava and get info and tips, subscribe to our newsletter. The link is also below. Join us next time for more insights into the world of voice.